All right, welcome to another episode of the Career Coaches Podcast. Super excited for this one. This one's a long time coming. I've been wanting to have Sanket and Sedat here. I'll introduce them in a second on the podcast. And we actually made this podcast because they have done actually a lot of workshops inside of our OPNI, Career Coaches community. But we wanted to make this live. And just to give you guys if you're listening to this is going to be a monthly themed episode because I just think that I personally, I'm not no expert in AI and I can't keep track with all of this. So Sanket and Sedat are like, for me, like the go-to experts when it comes to not only AI, but where AI meets the career coaching world. So let me give you guys an introduction of Sanket and Sedat. I think I've known these two gentlemen for now, I think close to 1.5 to 2 years. We've been working closely together on a special project for about a year now. And it's essentially a tool that helps career coaches get their clients better jobs faster. And for the last year, we've been kind of like on stealth mode. We've been testing this out with career coaches, and we're seeing some incredible results. And we're super excited because we're going to launch this tool publicly in a couple of months. So until then, if you want to learn more about it, send me a DM. We're still it's very, very selective group of people that get to access it. But we wanted to do this episode because there's so much going on in the AI world that is just changing the way the career coaching industry is, not only in how career coaches use AI, but also the job market is changing so much because of AI. And so instead of me trying to make up things that I don't know about, I think I will bring in two smart individuals who are way, way smarter than me in life, let alone AI. And so I want to just introduce and let them kind of introduce themselves a little bit. Sanket and Sedat, welcome to the show, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Awesome, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Super excited to have some interesting conversations today around AI, around coaching, and the landscape in general. Super excited for this one.
Likewise, yeah, it's good to be here, Daniel. Thanks for having us.
So before we dive in, I have some questions that my team and I have kind of seen what's going on in AI. We'll love maybe Sedat, why don't you start yourself? Introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about your background and why you're definitely a lot smarter than me to talk about this stuff.
I think they're just being very modest. I don't know about the smart, but thank you. Yeah, my name is Sedat. I have been in the software industry for the last 20 years, I would say, close to 20 years. I spent the majority of my career, the first part at Adobe, built a variety of consumer products. Started with Flash, and Flash was cool. This was ages ago, and then worked on some great cloud products. And around right after the pandemic, when the AI shift kind of happened, when the AI became came onto the surface, that's when I kind of switched my focus and started working on AI. And since then, I've been doing a lot of different experimentation within the AI industry and the field. You mentioned that it's really hard to keep up, Daniel. It is really hard to keep up for us as well. I mean, the landscape is shifting so fast. So that's not something you're experiencing. I feel like every day there's something new. But yeah, as you also mentioned, we have been building a product together with Sanket, and you obviously in the last couple months, we're excited to get that out as well. But yeah, my primary focus is Gen AI. Obviously, that's why I've been spending quite a bit of time in the last year.
Yeah, I mean, super excited to be here. I think the background, again, it's more product and tech, that I've had in the last 10, 15 years. Interestingly, like back in 2016, I also did like my master's thesis was around AI before AI was as impactful as cool. But then, yeah, I mean, I've had the journey of like seeing the evolution of like, some of the SaaS products and now, becoming more agentic as we hear it. And yeah, last few years, we've been like, knees deep into understanding the impact of AI on careers. And one of the most interesting facets in that impact is going to be like career coaching. And so we've been like, heads down working with Daniel Yu and bunch of like some really amazing coaches all around the world. And it's been an exciting journey to see that evolution, see where the coaching market is today, where it's heading tomorrow. and how AI and technology in general is going to change that landscape. So yeah, it feels like we are at a very interesting inflection point across the industry. And yeah, I mean, like starts it, mentioned, like it's almost like a subtle disclaimer that nobody knows anything. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Things are moving so fast, they're evolving so fast that there are a lot of assumptions are being challenged already, no matter where they're coming from. And so yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, right, this year to see what happens next.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into some of the questions. And also, if you're listening to this, feel free to ask, put some questions in. So we'll incorporate some of the audience questions as well. But I guess for me, I will start with like, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books. I try to stay up to date with everything. And this is maybe for me, I always have this FOMO of like fear of missing out on everything, right? And every time I try to implement AI tools or AI agents, I feel like I can't keep up. I can't keep up. And then my team was doing a lot of research for this because they want to make me sound smarter than I am. And they share with me something I never realized. It's called the Gardner hyper cycle, right? Of how essentially you have this hype and then it kind of lowers and then it finds a way to plateau. And for me, I was like, I've never knew that like that was a thing, but I feel that with AI. I felt like at one point everyone was talking about AI and then it went down a little bit. And then even recently, as I prepare for this podcast, I'm like listening to the All In podcast. I'm listening to Professor Gallup, and they were talking about how like companies are seeing that AI is actually not like making it less productive for some employees. So all that to say, can you help us? Like, what would you advise? How much should a business owner, a coach, should be thinking about AI? Is there things like level one, just keep ChatGPT, or to what point do you get into a point of like the newest thing? I think it's called Claude AI. So, anyways, I just let you guys kind of dump some information on us because for me, I'm overwhelmed and I don't even know what I'm missing out, or I feel like it's counterproductive at this point for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think the FOMO is real for sure. Like, no matter what function you work in, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are, an individual contributor, you're a manager, a leader, doesn't matter. Like the FOMO is real. And I think it is definitely at a level which has been unprecedented. Like we haven't seen this level of FOMO before. And I mean, like just to break it down, there are still, two school of thoughts, and like both Siddharth and I have like the agreements and disagreements on some of them already. Is like the typical traditional hype cycle, right? Like Gartner had the hype cycle. The phases that we had was that there's a trigger for the innovation. Then suddenly we have like a really high rise of expectation of what it can do, and then there's a crash. Like suddenly, like we have a trough where now, like there's that disappointment, there's that reality, and then you slowly have the slope of now you're getting into more practicality of things, and then things start plateauing, right? So that's been the traditional kind of hype cycle. If you're gonna compare it with some of the most common technologies that we've seen, this is, let's say, AR, VR, maybe IoT, like Internet of Things. We've seen this for blockchain, in the last cycle. So these patterns or these cycles have been pretty consistent in terms of like how they behave when a new technology comes into the fore. Um, but I think the alternative school of thought is that with AI it is different. With AI, there are like bunch of factors why we feel that it may or may not follow the typical hype cycle. Um, just because right now, like AI itself is kind of like improving itself, it's evolving super fast. There are a lot of like industries that it has an impact on, like unlike AR or VR. We also see a lot of like geopolitical, a lot of regulations, a lot of safety, a lot of ethics, a lot of them coming into play, which will also play a very key role in seeing where the direction or where we eventually end up with. And so there are like a lot of these factors that are driving that hype cycle to be different than before. And that again creates that anxiety because we don't know where we're headed. Um, so yeah. So that I know you had some different thoughts, but yeah.
I mean, my thoughts are similar. I completely agree in terms of the FOMO. I think there are two types of FOMO that I feel. And I'm in the software industry. That's the first industry that has been disrupted by AI. The first FOMO, as you mentioned, Daniel, is you want to stay on top of the newest, basically, news and what's coming out, right? It's really hard to basically always stay on top of it. I think the way I do that is I have a set of podcasts as well, a couple newsletters that I follow. I basically try to understand what's coming out and spend some time, allocate some time to basically do research. The second part of FOMO that I feel is AI truly gives you leverage. And that's what basically did for a lot of software engineers. I sometimes wake up and knowing that I can be so much productive, create so much output, and just the fact that I'm not doing it, sometimes I'm sleeping or I'm doing something else, gives me anxiety as well. So we're battling with two types of anxiety here on the software side. And I'm going to mention the software a little bit more because, as I said, it's the first industry that has been truly disrupted by AI. We are seeing it on our industry. And if I were to say, I have been 5 to 10x more productive in the last year since AI models became so powerful, I would not be lying. That's something not a lot of people see outside of software industry. They always look at it as, I'm talking to ChatGPT, I'm asking me a question, it gives me an answer. Great. But what we are basically experiencing in software industry is that we have AI agents that are writing 95 to 100% of the code that we used to write by hand. That's kind of the difference. Yeah.
I think for me, I get the most anxiety when I'm on vacation. And so I could just imagine if I have like AI agents or AI is, I don't even like is doing a lot of that work, I would feel like I have more anxiety. I guess the way I would look, like, so I always think about things in frameworks. So like when I work with my clients, I always think about like sales training, the core four. I always think that there's like this frameworks, and I always want to simplify things. If we were to do like like 1 to 5 levels of like proficiency, like thinking that knowing how to use ChatGPT is like as the simple as use ChatGPT as Google as level 1, and then level 5 being you can create Monday.com CRM in in 2 hours, like somebody just said in an article, right? That's level 5. Can you help us understand like what would you consider level 2, level 3, level 4 in the mastery of AI? And that way, like if I'm an audience, I could be like, okay, I'm not me, Daniel Botero, I know I'm not going to be level 5, probably not level 4. I think I'm pretty good with ChatGPT. Like, I think like my friends think I'm obsessed with ChatGPT. Like my number one relationship is not with my wife, is with ChatGPT. So I'm probably guess I'm like 2 or 3, but I would love to hear how you guys think of those, knowing that you guys are probably, if not 4 or 5s in these stages.
I think one thing that I would challenge is probably creating Monday.com using AI is not level 5. Level 5 would be you fully automate your life using agents that runs in the background constantly. And you are basically just managing that. Maybe that's not even level 5. That could be level 4.
So it's like creating Monday.com using AI. You would consider that like what, level 2 for you then? I mean, walk me through that. Well, but to help us understand this, man. So 5-year-old, it's grade level.
From my vantage point, of course, you're not going to be able to create Monday.com just using AI. It's such a complicated software that has been built over the years that probably, uh, you know, included so many bug fixes, right? So many decisions. But you can probably build a very basic CRM for yourself. That would be, to me, level 2 or level 3.
Man, I thought I was good at AI. All right. So that's level 2. Like you create your own CRM.
I'll give a level 3 so that, I don't make you more angry. How we heat.
No, I just want to know what level 5 is to you guys. Now I'm excited.
Well, level 4 would probably be level 4 and 5 would involve agents. I'm sure you have heard of agents. They are the new hot word in the AI market right now. Basically, just building your own agent and running them and automating your life. I'll give you an example. I was hanging out with a friend of mine about a week ago, and he told me that you probably heard of OpenClaw. He told me that he installed that. He hooked up his email, his DoorDash account. Now, whenever he needs to order food, all he does is he just texts the Clawbot, says, order one of the things that I like from the list that I created for you. It takes care of the order, payment, makes the decision for him as well. and get back to him. So to me, that's like a level 4 and 5 things. And this is just one example. He does a lot of things in the background in terms of research, even sometimes asynchronously getting his work done. I'm going to stop. I'm curious what Sanket thinks in terms of level 4 and 5, but that would be the level 5 right now, which could change in a couple months.
I mean, Siddharth's opinion is definitely gonna scare more people for sure. But it's a disclaimer that Siddharth has has spent 15 years deep in a lot of code, and so he gets it much quicker. He's able to kind of know these nuances of deploying these agents, running these agents. More aware of like the security issues and things like that. But again, yeah, I mean, in general, like I think like what Siddharth mentioned is right, that we're probably at like 3 or 4 right now, and we want to get to 5. Like that's what, like we have some like bunch of interesting things that we are kind of like looking into, for this month and for the upcoming months. And a lot of that is like involving, some of these newer technologies that are coming through, like including like OpenClaw. And the idea for us is that the way we're thinking about it is that a lot of these AI expertise, like I think there are 2 buckets where you can deploy it. Like one is for your own self, for doing like things which are more atomic in nature, something that you wanna like create your own chatbot, you wanna create your own GPT instance kind of a thing. And like maybe create your own landing page, things like that, like more atomic things. It's very much possible in that one bucket, which is possible with like maybe level 1, level 2 kind of thing. But then the moment you start using or creating it for somebody else, whether it is your customers, whether it is your partners, whether it is your managers, things like that, then the readiness of that, the kind of like SLAs that you need for it, the production readiness, like all of that comes into the play. And that's where then it kind of like starts taking shift away from your core competency into something now that you're just like trying to build this, maintain this, and all of that. And that's the nuance where, some of the systems that you should be able to build pretty easily yourself, versus some of the systems where it's just not worth building it for somebody else because it just opens a whole Pandora's box for you.
So helping us we're gonna ground this. So level 1, Chat GPT. I'm just trying to think like checklist wise. Level 1, you use Chat GPT or like anything like that, and you're just messaging back and forth. Maybe you speak to it. You can create a GPT where there's like a preloaded conversation. What would be level 2? Like what would be the softwares that you would consider a level 2? Like what would be the subscriptions that you would buy? What would be the tasks that you think that can be done in level 2?
I think lovable show would be, sorry to regards to that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Lovable, Daniel, if you have heard of it, it's a solution that allows you to create your own website, but it's not a static website anymore. You can actually hook it up to a database, make it a functional app. And then both Sanket and I think we kind of agree on this, is that it will allow you to build something, but not something that is very sophisticated or that could scale to a lot of users. But Lovable is a good example. Basically, just building your very small website using lovable prompts. They can get dynamic, not just static. To me, that is probably level 2.
Okay. Let's make sure we understand it. I am coming from the point of view is like, if I am a career coach listening to this podcast and I want to incorporate AI into my business, first level, use ChatGPT to help me write my content, to help me reply to emails, to like say, what should give me questions to do mock interviews with my client, as an example. Level 2, what would name 1 or 2 applications? Like, you guys see what I'm saying? Maybe it is a tool that we're building. That could be maybe a level 2 tool, right? Or like I guess this is where I want to go, so that if a career coach is listening to this, like, all right, I'm not going to get anxiety. I know that I'm not going to be a level 4, level 5 AI, using AI into my career coaching business. What level do I feel comfortable getting my feet wet into it? So level 1, ChatGPT. Level 2. So
I think level 2 would include probably like maybe Lovable, maybe the HeyGens, maybe the Clay, like some of these other tools which wrap a lot of like AI beneath them. And then you are kind of like deploying your agent or deploying your basic system to kind of run through like a CRM, create like these intro messages, create these emails, make it more personalized, like, run it as a campaign, and create those sequences. But everything is still like on that tool that you are just like kind of adjusting to your needs. It is still learning a lot about that tool, and which is not just like basic chat, like ChatGPT, it's like it takes you one line to get started, and which is why the barrier to entry is like so low. I think level 2 is where now things are getting more serious. Now it is about you bringing some knowledge, connecting a database and things like that, and then trying to run some of these, use cases.
So to me, yeah, like level 2 would be using AI within some of the tools that like are not necessarily AI originally, but have implemented AI. So like I use Monday.com, AI is being used there. Like I use Slack, AI, there's a level of use in Slack into it. So I use Kajabi sometimes, then you can use the AI features within Kajabi. So uh, I think level 2 for a career coach would be a tool like the ones you guys have built, like Shapeshifter, right? Like it's like how you take career coaching to the next level, which is a client success tool that helps your career coaches, clients get jobs, better jobs faster, right? And so there's a lot of somebody else is building the tool and you just implement it. You don't need to learn how it works in the back end, but it helps you. Would you guys agree with that?
I think in general, I would agree where what I would put level 2, which is, using a software that has AI native features. I would probably selfishly put Shapeshifter at level 3. The reason is because there are some tools out there that gives you the flexibility in terms of how to customize your own AI, your prompts and things like that. That basically requires some knowledge, like further knowledge about AI. It's not that the tool does everything for you, but you are actually customizing and modifying the tool, adding your own taste, your configurations, your style, which requires basically some further AI knowledge. That would be, to me, is slightly above level 2, but in general, we agree that the level 2 would be using a tool that has AI native features.
I think the reason why I would put Shapeshifter in level 2, not level 3, is because even though Shapeshifter has tons of AI features, I don't need to be really good at AI to use those features. You guys built the tool so that a dummy like me can make it work, right? Like, is that make sense? So like, that's why to me it becomes more level 2. It has probably level 3, level 4, and even level 5 features, but I don't need to know how to use those features. Like, I don't need to know how the sausage is made per se.
Yep, that makes sense. Absolutely.
So level 3, I think about somebody in level 3 is someone who's probably has a technical background. What are some of the ways that career coaches that maybe are super technically savvy? I think about people like Adam who come from Amazon, have the technical background, or like Josh Bob, if you're listening to it, I love you, Josh. Shout out to you, where he goes like, I want to start kind of doing like getting my hands dirty a little bit on building some of this stuff. What are some examples of ways that career coaches that have this level 3 of AI type of thing could do or use it?
Absolutely. I think level 3 will probably have a bunch of tools like, I don't know if you've heard of like gun loop, Anytin, a lot of these workflow automations where, okay, you can create your own components, you can create these workflows, you can create these conditions, you can create like what the input would look like, what the output would look like. So in case of like, career coaching, we've seen coaches use it for like running a lot of campaigns to get the leads from one flow, work through that, kind of like run a kind of ICP scoring on top of that so that at least they get like segmented the right way. And then for each of those ICPs, maybe they assign like a score. And then based on those scores, they decide, what's the plan of action, what the email should look like. And then it has an integration with like a MailChimp or like one of these tools. And then it automatically sends you, something like that. The reason why it is 3 is because it's slightly more advanced and you have more control. Some of it is somewhat like no code or low code is what we call it. But some of them could have like some more, kind of like debugging capabilities, because as you start building more sophisticated systems, it becomes extremely critical to see the entire pipeline, to see where the bottlenecks are, to see whether the quality is high, whether the output is accurate and things like that. And so these tools start offering some of these capabilities for you to then like just roll up your sleeves and kind of take it upon yourself to guarantee that the systems are up and green all the time.
Yeah. So that anything you would add here on level 3?
No, I think that covers level 3 pretty well. Yeah, the tools that Sanket mentioned, they are very slowly implemented agentic workflows as well. So that would be a very good basic gateway into that world.
For me, this is where the part where I can't even think of ideas on how to what would go here. So let's quickly do level 4 and level 5 because I think there's less and less people that would think about this as like so level 4 activities. If I if let's say one of you, like, what would be some level 4 things that somebody could do if they're really into AI and they can, yeah, they love this stuff, they breathe this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably leave level 5 for imagination. The reason is because, as I said, AI is basically going so fast. I'm not entirely sure what level 5 would look like today. Level 4 would probably be somewhere around just getting your agents running. As I said, you can do that through OpenClaw. OpenClaw part would probably be level 5. Level 4 would probably be just using some of the agentic exactly workflow solutions and downloading some skills, which we can talk about what they mean, but it's just basically a set of instructions that specialize in a certain category or workflow, and you can run your agents integrated into your real life. That could be as simple as reading your emails, basically telling you about follow-up actions. It could do some research for you. That would, to me, would be level 4, basically just going towards more agentic workflow where you delegate a task and have the agents do that for you.
All right, before we move on to the next topic, thanks guys for doing that. One of the things that I now fear is doing yearly subscriptions in any AI companies. I did like this whole 1-year subscription for Centra, like the AI, like little assistant. I don't know if I would really use it as much anymore. And so I was like, now I paid for the whole year. But anyways, okay.
Well, that's not the whole financial market. I think the whole idea of 5x multiplier on the ARR is changing as well. Nobody knows how long the lifetime of any SaaS solution is right now. So the market is kind of going through that, trying to figure out what it means in the world of AI.
Yeah, that's the part. Like, I am like 51% optimistic of what the future looks like, especially the future of work, and then 49% like freaking out of like, man, like what's gonna happen? Not only like because of AI, I think about like you have Elon building these robots, Optimus, and then you just put that AI into the robot. Like, what are humans gonna do? So I guess that's I would love to like get you guys' thought of that about what about the future of work. Let's talk about from the job seekers, career coaches that want to know this information, because this is affecting pretty much, if it's not affecting the industry that they're coaching right now, it will very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean, again, to me, I feel I am a kind of a prime example of somebody who has experienced this firsthand. I can talk about how software engineering is changing and what I think the impact would be. So the way I look at it is the software industry is the first industry that has been disrupted by AI very heavily. And I'll give you an example. About 9 months ago, I was listening to a podcast of somebody, and they had Dario Amodei as their guest, who is the CEO of Anthropic. Anthropic is the company that builds the model cloud. And he said in the podcast, we anticipate that in about a year, 99% of the code will be written by AI, the new code. And I personally laughed. I thought that was ridiculous. At that point, I was using AI. I was building things with AI, but I thought 99% of the new code, I mean, that would make us completely obsolete. Fast forward 9 months later, AI is writing 99 to 100% of the code that I am writing today. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's doing everything without my help. No, I still have to build a system. I still have to bring my expertise into it, refine it, plan it. But it does that, the full manual writer code part, that's completely done by AI. What does that mean for a software engineer? It makes a regular software engineer 5 to 10x more productive, without a doubt, in terms of the output. It also means that some companies, not all, will not need as many software engineers. And I think we are kind of seeing that a little bit. It still hasn't played out fully, but we will probably see some entry-level software engineer jobs being, unfortunately, eliminated or repurposed. So based on what I'm seeing in the software industry, what I anticipate, and nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen, would be there are two different things to consider here. AI will definitely have a strong impact on entry-level jobs. I think once other industries are disrupted, the company is giving an entry-level employee 1 or 2 years to figure out a job, in my opinion, that phase is kind of over. If you're coming in, the expectations will be a little higher. You're going to have to figure this out. If you're graduating, my recommendation would be just get proficient at these tools, know how to use them very heavily, because you're going to start using them in your job. For the mid to late level career, people, employees, that's slightly different. Obviously, they have the expertise. They are going to be able to manage these agents, but their work is going to change. Instead of just doing things manually, they are going to basically probably start managing some AI agents that are created for them. So I think the landscape is changing. There will probably be a short-term shift and maybe some uncomfortable phase for a lot of people. But I think at the end, it is going to make us produce a lot more. And that's what I'm hoping that will play out, basically.
Sanket, you have similar thoughts? I mean, I would love for you guys to argue about this, but anyways, I don't know. But if you have the same thoughts,
No, I mean, I feel that Daniel actually, like, out of the three of us, I think you have a better eye on the pulse, like what's actually going on with a lot of like careers, because that's how it is impacting the career coaching industry as a whole. And while with these the layoffs coming through, hierarchy is getting flatter, the reorgs happening, the reskilling happening, there's a lot that's probably going on. So I'm sure you have better check on the heartbeat right now.
I think like anybody that tells you they know 100% what's going to happen is just like a liar, right? Like, I go back and forth, and I think it feels like my entrepreneurship roller coaster, but it's like the AI roller coaster. They said AI is going to replace radiologists, right? Like, you guys remember a couple of years back, they're like, AI is going to replace, and now there's more demand for radiologists than there ever was before. In radiology is being used more and more than there was before, because before it was so expensive to send this to radiology, and now it's just a lot cheaper. So now there's a lot more demand for radiology. So then I'm like, okay, great. Like, so in my head, I'm like, well, great. Well, then that's going to happen everywhere else. And then I hear a podcast where Elon Musk says, I would not tell my kid to go to become a doctor, because by the time they go through med school, the Optimus with AI brain will be like whatever times more accurate, better than than the best surgeon in the world will be. And he goes on a very optimistic level, 2 to 3 years, but on a very pessimistic level, I can't see this being more than 4 or 5 years from now. So now in my head, I'm like, man, if doctors are not safe, like, who is safe?
Yeah.
Well, I think for short term, your plumbers, your HVAC employees. So there is certainly a rise in the blue collar employment just because of that reason.
Yeah. But then I listened to the All In podcast this morning, and they were saying something very similar to that. That the demand for knowledge workers will increase. And so now I'm like, man, like there's credible sources from both sides, like the people. And so I don't know, but the only thing I do know, and I guess this is where my gut goes to, is the more AI and the more automations and the more robots do things, the more humans will crave human connection. And I think a lot about this from the coaching point of view of AI, Google, and this is not even an AI thing. With Google, strategy became a commodity. Like, for me to tell you that I know something about how to build a coaching business that no one in the world knows is super naive and super stupid. But if strategy alone, or the knowledge on how to do it was enough, then we will all be rich, fit, and fulfilled. And I just don't know anybody that's like 100% fit, 100% rich, and 100% fulfilled. Like, there's always a missing gap. Like, there's always this missing gap. And because of that, I always think about, why do people hire me as a coach, or why do job seekers hire career coaches, or why do people hire like the personal training gym that I'm an owner on? And I think that what people really buy is this 3 pillars of strategy, which you need to have the right strategy, right? Like, there's this level of accountability and a level of community. And I build GPTs, and if you've ever watched Billions, I built a GPT off Wendy from Billions, right? It's a performance psychologist that can be like, call me on my BS, hold me accountable. Guys, I used the GPT for 1 or 2 weeks. but Wendy's not waking up and knocking on my door. There isn't this human connection that I feel guilty not doing it. But on the other hand, David, my business partner at the gym, by the way, I'm down 12 pounds this year thanks to my guy at Freedom. So shout out to Freedom, but not only it doesn't matter. Like, why do I feel like this is finally working? I can have a GPT that knows more about David, like respectfully, David, I love you, right? But the GPT will know more, ChatGPT. But it's the game plan of saying, okay, your wife's birthday party was on Friday. You're gonna have pizza and alcohol. Like, what are you gonna do to make up that deficit? Okay, let's make a game plan. You're gonna fast for 34 hours on Monday to make up all the calories that you intake. And like, could ChatGPT tell me that? Yes, but would I actually be on hour 26 and be like, I'm just gonna eat a cookie? Like, I would do it because I don't care about ChatGPT. ChatGPT doesn't have feelings or emotions, but I do not want to let down my coach. And I think that's the part that I think AI doesn't replace, at least not right now. At least I don't see it yet. And I think that takes me to like, people crave that community and crave that accountability in that relationship. And this is why I've always said to you guys, I don't think that AI will replace career coaches. I think it's career coaches that use AI will replace the career coach. And I think that if you're a coach just selling online digital products, I think that's gone. Like, I can write an ebook in 1 hour. Right? I think that if you're a career coach that's just selling one-on-one and not selling the community aspect of it, I also think you're missing the boat. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I think that I don't know anything of what's going to happen in terms of different industries. I think that's going to change by industry. But I do know that humans will crave human interaction and accountability by another human.
In that, that's we completely agree. Yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say is, although I actually paint a grim picture in terms of the impact on career, which I believe there will be an inflection point and there will be some undesirable impact on the career industry. But that actually doesn't mean anything negative for career coaches. I think in general, I completely agree with you. I think the career coaching is positioned really well to basically help people while they're going through this very uncomfortable time. It's very clear that just like probably the computer revolution that happened when people went from the typewriters to computers, they felt extremely uncomfortable. They didn't know what to do, right? And they needed some help. My guess is that career coaching was not a big thing back then. But right now, we have career coaching industry that's thriving. We are going to have a lot of people who will need help and that human touch to basically, get prepared for the next phase that's about to come. So for that reason, I completely agree with you. I think the career coaching is probably positioned really well and will be desired by a lot more people just so that they can get through this kind of phase and beyond. In terms of the long term, Daniel, nobody really knows what's going to happen. You talk to the leaders of the AI companies, even they have disagreement in terms of what they think is going to happen to the workforce. So that part is, I think, we'll see how it's going to be played out.
Yeah, and we've seen this very hands-on also, like in the last couple of years, because as we are building out some of these capabilities, these tools, initially, like to be honest, like all of us thought, like, Sedat and I, when we built prototypes and things like that, we thought we could actually build like an AI career coach, and we thought that, oh, you know what, I think problem solved. Like suddenly now the same AI career coach, like we can deploy it for, all the job seekers in the world, and great, we've hit some goal. But then as we started working with the job seekers, we started to understand the nuances that are involved. Like we probably get like the 80% of the work or the strategy done. But then we started realizing that there is still that one missing piece. And that one missing piece is what the career coaches bring with their expertise, with their niche, with their, kind of like frameworks that they have kind of like mastered over the last, few years. And that is like so very well established for certain, segments. And so we kind of realized that it's not going, like, no matter, like even if the model is improving, the models are still going to stay extremely horizontal. They're still going to be extremely generic. And so even if you like keep giving it more data to kind of like read over it, it is still going to be generic. I think what the coaches are going to bring is that expertise in that one specific segment, that vertical, that niche, which is what we then started, it was almost like an aha moment for us. Then realized that, yes, I think rather than like, trying to go after this generic AI career coach, I think there's a lot more value in trying to get, to join forces with the career coaches and give them what like give them the tools that will probably help them kind of like, bring that expertise, to life.
Yeah. I think what the tool that you guys have built, and I say you guys have built because you guys have built it. I obviously give you guys input and work with you guys on it, but this is you guys are the brains behind it. Is that it does a really good job at putting the career coach as the guide for the job seeker, making sure that the career coach can serve many more clients without losing the human touch, and allowing them to help them hold their clients accountable, because I think accountability and community are the factors that allow them to get better jobs faster. I wanted us to transition the conversation to like, what are you guys seeing on how companies are using AI to hire employees? Like, you know, have you seen, or do you know anything about how companies are managing the tons of applications that they're now getting, because there's tons of AI tools that auto apply for people? Like, what are you guys seeing in 2026 when it comes to companies managing the hiring process?
I mean, I think based on what I'm seeing is that referrals end up playing a very important role. That has always been a very powerful tool. Obviously, I think it's going to become more important. As you said, these AI agents will basically, flood the job openings with applications. And something will have to change there as well. I think the industry has not done, has not come up with a productive solution but that's not going to be the future. You can't just have a job opening and then have 2,000 applications within within 10 minutes, right? A couple other things that I am seeing, again, this is on the software industry side, which is more and more companies are now interviewing people and telling them within this interview, you can actually use AI, because they want to test your ability to use AI, which is becoming extremely important. I'm seeing that happening across software companies. In my opinion, that is going to start happening in other industries as well, as, AI starts kind of cracking into those industries too. Those are some of the things that I have been observing from my side.
Yeah, I think the barrier to entry, I mean, as it becomes a battle of AI versus AI in a way, like on both sides of the marketplace, right? Like job seekers, looking for a job and talent managers looking for talent. I think, yeah, like the thing that makes you more unique, or how you can create more distinction, I think that's going to become more and more important. And if it's a battle of AI versus AI, I think the human piece is the one that's probably going to make you like stand out a lot more. And so I think, like, going back to the same thing that, if you can, put yourself out there, the whole networking, accountability, like all of those things now become more important, because that's the only way you're probably going to have like an edge. And I mean, it's a bittersweet moment, because in a battle of like AI versus AI, it's like the career coach is actually the the kind of the survivor in that sense, because they're probably going to be the ones immediately going to like help you now navigate through this change. Like tomorrow, if there's a new change in the hiring system, the hiring process, whatever, like it's probably going to be the career coaches who will probably need to adapt the fastest, and then basically, kind of like help their entire audience, their customers, their job seekers, everybody to kind of like navigate through that, that change.
I think that's where career coaching industry, and we've talked about this a lot, like on private conversations, on how, like, I think the career coaching industry is about to explode for that reason, is because so much is changing in the way that companies are hiring. It essentially takes a full-time in person to keep up with all the trends and be able to say, this is what's working right now. Right. And so, like, what, it reminds me a lot of, like, again, a podcast. I don't even remember which one it was, that talked about like cybersecurity and hackers, how there's always this race of like encryption, and then they're trying to hack it. As soon as that's hacked, they're trying to like create it. And I feel like it's the same thing. Like, companies figure out a way to vet better candidates, and then candidates figure out a way to get the extra edge, whether it is back in the day, copying and paste the job description inside the resume so the applicant tracking system matching. Like, that was like a long time ago, where now we know that doesn't work that way. But there's always this like trying to hack, and I think it's like people with a marketing brain are always trying to cheat the system. It's like marketers, right? And I think about it that way, where like now I think resumes become a commodity because resumes will get to a point where everyone has the best resume for the role. Like you get the job description and you say, AI, build the best resume that you can with this. And then resumes already used to be extremely exaggerated when a human wrote it. Now with AI, that's always optimistic and always like, go get him, tiger, right? Like it's so resumes are always going to look great. And I think it was a career coach that was telling me that one of his clients got an amazing job, and a month later, because he helps like senior directors and vice presidents. This guy was a vice president at a pretty big company. He now had to build out the team, and so the HR team went to him and said, "Hey, if you know anybody, let us know because we get thousands of applications, and all 1,000 people have great resumes. Us veteran resumes no longer works. The only thing that works is real referrals of people that knows the work that this person has done." And so I think I talked about this, like, I think it get to a point, again, this is my prediction, not that 100%, like, I don't know this for 100%. I think it's going to get to a point where the AI will literally be like, forget posting the job. Let's just reach out to the people that we predict can do the job at a really high rate based on what they're posting on LinkedIn, based on what we see that, whatever we can see online from other data sources that are in this secret world that maybe you guys know Pandora's box that I don't, right? Like, and then because of that, we know that there's a 95% accuracy rate that this person will be an exceed expectations type of candidate. So now I'm just going to DM Sanket and say, hey, when it just secret job offer just for you, perfect match. We think your 95% chance is going to kill it in this job, and we'll give you a 70% raise. To me, I think that's the future. And if that becomes the future where a person now has to run like a company and they have to have SEO and they have to have all these things, to me, you need to be aware of all those changes. And I think that's where the career, looping this back, I think that's where the career coach's job becomes is you're now not only going to work with a career coach to get a job, I think they become like your agent. Like they become with like, you work with them for your career and you're like, all right, first thing, let's get you a job. 2-year plan, let's get you promoted. And like your whole thing is that your career coach is like, I think you're getting underpaid here. Time to jump, buddy. Or hey, stick around. Your company is gonna do good. Like, and they become kind of like your personal agent. But love your thoughts on my hypothesis here.
No, absolutely. I think, I mean, it goes both inbound and outbound, right? Like you want to build your own, like if you want to compare it with Hollywood, like you're kind of like building your own portfolio. You're getting like the right profile. You're going through the right classes and trainings and things like that to build your profile and then make sure that it has the right, kind of like magnet to kind of attract. And it also goes for the outbound where we're sure, like, like today, if the outbound is like, if you're saying that instead of just like randomly emailing or spamming people on LinkedIn, maybe this is the time that you can leverage AI, more efficiently or more effectively rather, where, you can be more creative with reaching out to, people for intro, like maybe create like a one pager for them, maybe create a small, like a micro or a nano app, and app doesn't have to be like always an engineering. It could be a small marketing campaign. It could be a quick ad that you created, using, for that team or for that org or that, company. And so there are like bunch of ways where, again, like this is where I feel like as like as an individual, sure, you can still explore like bunch of these areas and then see what works, what doesn't. But when you have somebody who's already seeing like, from like, like 50 feet high and seeing what is actually working and what is not, I think it just like, it makes the process much more effective, much more efficient, much more shorter. So yeah, I mean, it is going to be pretty interesting that way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that as well. I think you and I talked about this as well, right? I think one of your theories was that there are a lot of people out there, they're using personal trainers, health coaches. But if you compare that with the career coaches, that number is a lot higher, right? Career coaches are a lot lower. Or psychiatrists, for example, or the therapists. And if you look at it, there are really 3-4 different fundamental pillars in life. There's your health, your physical health, your mental health, your financial health, and career plays an extremely important role in your financial health, obviously. Not only that, it's also the purpose that it gives you. It doesn't really make sense that the career coaching or support there is not as prominent as in other two categories. I think that is going to change, as you said. I don't know what the final shape will look like, but we are, fully bullish on career coaching becoming more and more popular as well. Another thing that I was going to touch on, I think you mentioned that here too. for career coaches, one thing that I would recommend would be you really will start to need to stay on top of these tools, because a lot of your basic clients will start asking you about what do they need to be ready for the next phase, right? And these tools are going to be coming up in the conversation. So if you really want to be prepared for it, my recommendation would be just, you don't have to know every new tool that's coming up, but at least just try to stay ahead of the curve and have a broader understanding of what's coming up, how you can use these tools.
Or you can listen to this podcast the third Tuesday of every month, and you'll stay up to date, because we're gonna repeat these conversations, and we'll keep you up to date. I think if you're a month within 4 weeks, I think you'll be fine. But no, so that I think what your point was talking about is I know we talked about this before, but it's like in the marketing world, like if you're telling people like what there's three main buckets: there's health, there is money, and there's relationships. So like love, like how to get married, how to build friends, how to like all this. And those are the three main categories. And I think the career actually, I don't understand why it's not bigger than it is. It's like it affects your money, it affects your mental health, and it affects your relationships. It's like it just overlaps so much into those other like three pillars. And so I think in every other one, like finances, you have to buy a house, a real estate agent; to plan for retirement, a financial advisor; like health, like you have doctors, you have personal trainers, like there's tons of other things. And then when it comes to your career, is like not normal, especially in the beginning or in the middle of your career. Now, find a CEO who doesn't have a leadership coach or an executive coach. Like you can't like find it. Like right now, we're in the middle of the Winter Olympics. Go find me an Olympian who doesn't have a coach. Like you can't. And so, I think that's what's interesting is that that becomes really normalized in the top. But I think that that's where there's like if you're smart, like this is like an intrusive thought, and it's probably not something I will do because I've been building what I'm building for a long time. But when I was doing mastering college to career, which is like the brand before operating, I was working with college students. I never understood, like if I was going to run my university, I wouldn't charge traditional tuition. I would charge a percentage of their salary for the next 20 years. And so I'll be incentivized to continue to upskill them, right? For that, because I want to be involved in their career. And if I can get, let's say 3% of their salary for the next 20 years, I am now going to go to you like, hey, Sanket, based on your industry, here's 3 new courses that you could take already included within our agreement to upskill you on that so that you can make more money. And imagine I think to me, that's a very scary model for a university to do. But I do think that probably should, like, that's a really good model where everyone is incentivized. That. Anyways, I digress on a crazy idea.
That they might have to do that, because I think a lot of people are now challenging the value of universities, whether that tuition is worth or not. I think that model will have to change. Will change that dramatically in the short term. We're not sure, but I completely agree with you. I think we'll have to look at that differently.
You just need tons of money to fund the first 5 to 10 years as people are not making as much earlier on. But imagine if you get like like an Elon Musk that went through your university and you get that 3%. Now you're talking. But anyways, gentlemen, last thoughts. Any last either like message or a really big point that you want the audience that's listening to this to take away from this conversation before we wrap it up? So I'll let Sanket start with you.
I think I mean I was probably gonna share like one of the funnier things I'd seen like last week, which is since we're talking about hiring, there's this new thing which is coming up, which is called as like rentahuman.ai. And it's getting viral. It almost started like similar to like one of the meme coins and all of that. Like it started more as a parody, but since then there have been like millions of people who've kind of like added themselves as gig workers in most sense, but these are more like white collar jobs, and white collar and blue collar both. And so now it's like all these agents, like whether it's Claude, whether it is like OpenClaw, they can essentially have an API access, which is like a technical way to communicate between two different pieces of code. But now you can actually build these agents where they can rent a human. So if there is like something where you're running like this complex outcome where you ask the agent that, hey, I want you to go ahead and basically run this marketing campaign so that we have a 40% uptick, on our revenues, is going to create that marketing campaign. And then in one of the strategies, if it means that let's print out these small, whatever doormats and put it in front of these, customers and, visit their offices and do that. Now, essentially, they can rent a human who's actually going to go ahead, print it for you, who's going to go ahead, deliver it for you. And by the end of it, like all you're doing is like sitting back and looking at the KPI dashboard, like, having the uptake. So this could fly where now, like, last year we saw a human renting an AI, like, one of these agents, but it's going to reverse probably like next year, starting onwards.
I did see that on the show notes, the hirehuman.ai, and I thought it was hilarious, but I also totally understand. Like, if you're already doing Uber and you're doing all this gig economy stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so crazy. That is funny. I mean, I think that's awesome. I do think, like, a side note, that I think a lot of people are going to continue to go more on, like, live off gig economy, like have 2 or 3 jobs like DoorDash or Uber or Thumbtack or like, anyways. But I think that's really interesting. So that last thought, anything you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I think I'll probably go back to the first thing that we talked about, which is if you're feeling anxious, just to know that it is normal. This is a very fast moving train that we are on, and a lot of people are uncomfortable. The framework that I use that I would recommend people to follow would be try to be more on the creator side rather than consumer side. AI really allows us to create, gives us that leverage. So there's a lot that you can do in that front, rather than just using these tools for consumption. That would be my right.
Okay. So right before we wrap it up, there was a question that was asked. It's like, what should career coach offer to their clients today that an AI tool simply cannot? Because there are a lot of SaaS tools in the market that are taking care of everything from career mapping to creating career docs to applying to relevant jobs and helping with interview prep.
I think a very like specialized strategy, which is specific to your niche. I think there's nothing out there that can kind of like surpass that right now. And so maybe like for each of the coaches, like if you have that that expertise, like just double down on that and see where you can even leverage technology to kind of like push it even further. But yeah, so Daniel, I think you had it okay.
I think human touch and accountability, as Daniel said, ChatGPT can create a great plan for you for your health as well. Are you going to go ahead and follow the gym? Most likely not. So I think that the human touch and accountability, and it turns out that humans are not good at get accountable to robots or digital.
So I think that is so true. Like,
yeah. I think this is that, and the community, especially if you build a community and a niche where then you create a flywheel effect. And I think that the problem is that a lot of career coaches were thinking very short term. And I want to challenge you to think 3-5 years out from now. If you have a niche, let's say medical sales, or let's say finance, and you place 200 to 300 people in that niche, and you build the relationships with those people, and you keep those people in your network, they become the referral partners that understand. And the power that universities have, we know, like if you're an alumni from the university and reach out to an alumni, you can build that within your ecosystem, a very, very niche job that would create a just a flywheel effect for your business, where you become the go-to person in this industry. And I think that's something that AI will not replace, because again, relationships will become more and more important. And what better way than if you've already helped 200 people and they're all over the industry, to then be able to then help your current clients, because they know that your systems, they know their resumes are going to get, they know that they're going to interview well. They already know that. And so their level of security to refer them to the company is going to be a lot higher. They're going to want to do that because they already know that that they're going to like come with a good foundation, because you provided that foundation within your program. So to me, is the human touch. I think that there's great tools. Like, again, the tool that the three of us have been building. And again, I'll say this, and I like to wrap it up. If you want access to it before it goes public, send me a DM. You can get access to a free demo. Like, you don't have to put a credit card in. Literally try it, and you'll see how awesome it will do everything that we just talked about. Like, find jobs for you, help tell you who to network with, help your clients can hold accountable. But it doesn't replace the human side of the career coaching. And to me, that becomes the most important part. Like, you are going to be the guide for your clients, and our job is just to provide the roadmap with those tools. That to me is, if you can think about this in 3 to 5 years from now and build a flywheel effect, you will have a 7-figure career coaching business with a very hard moat to beat, because of the relationships that you've, like, all the seeds you planted out there in the industries. Gentlemen, super excited. This is great. This is a fun conversation for me. I look forward to it. And I'm also really looking forward to hosting you guys in Colombia next week. Not tomorrow, next week. I can't believe it. Again, as much as we talk technology, for me, nothing replaces that. Meeting you guys in person last year and then seeing you guys travel to Colombia. With guys over there. Yeah.
We're super excited. I mean, we've been thinking about it for a while. So yeah, can't wait to see and hang out and jam a lot more on this.
Yeah. Guys, if you're watching this, thank you so much. If you found value in this, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with a friend. And if you have any questions or anything that we missed, put them on the comments, and we will get back to you. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining.
Bye.
Bye.